Little girl enters police station with strange object. He uses this on me. Police officer looks at her stomach and calls 911 in tears. Before we dive into the story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. The morning sunshine streamed through the windows of Maplewood Police Station, casting a warm glow on the worn wooden floors. Officer James Parker sipped his coffee, enjoying the rare moment of quiet in the small town's busiest building. 20 years on the force had taught him to savor these peaceful moments. Another slow day in paradise, Officer Rodriguez joked from the dispatch desk, sorting through routine paperwork. Parker smiled. Wouldn't have it any other way. The tranquility shattered as the station's front door burst open. A tiny figure stumbled in. A little girl, no more than 5 years old, her blonde hair disheveled and tears streaming down her flushed cheeks. Her small hands clutched at her visibly swollen stomach, and in her right hand she gripped a cucumber. "Help," she whimpered, her voice barely audible. Parker set down his coffee so quickly it spilled across his desk. 20 years of police work vanished in an instant. This wasn't an officer responding to a situation. This was a human being witnessing a child in distress. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said softly, kneeling to her level. "I'm Officer Parker. What's your name?" "Emma," she whispered, her blue eyes wide with fear. "Emma, can you tell me what's wrong?" The little girl held out the cucumber with trembling hands. "He used this to fix me," she said, her voice quavering. "It was supposed to make the bad things go away." Before Parker could ask another question, Emma's eyes rolled back, and she collapsed into his arms. The cucumber rolled across the floor, stopping at Rodriguez's feet. "Call an ambulance!" Parker shouted, cradling Emma's small form. Her pulse fluttered beneath his fingers like a trapped butterfly. The station erupted into action, Rodriguez radioing for emergency services, Officer Chen clearing a space on the bench, Sergeant Willis rushing for the first aid kit. "Stay with me, Emma," Parker murmured, brushing damp hair from her forehead. Her stomach was distended, hard to the touch. Whatever had happened to this child was serious. The wail of approaching sirens cut through the chaos. As paramedics rushed in with a stretcher, the officers stepped back, their faces masks of concern and confusion. "What did she mean about the cucumber?" Chen whispered. Parker shook his head, watching as the paramedics attached monitors to Emma's tiny form. "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." He picked up the vegetable, now evidence in whatever tragedy had befallen this child, and placed it in an evidence bag. As they loaded Emma into the ambulance, Parker turned to his sergeant. "I'm going with her," Willis nodded. "Call us when you know something. And Parker, find out who did this." As the ambulance doors closed, Parker caught a final glimpse of Emma's face, pale and peaceful in unconsciousness. A fierce protectiveness surged through him. In 20 years of law enforcement, few cases had hit him this hard, this fast. "Don't worry," he whispered, though Emma couldn't hear him. "We're going to help you now." The ambulance sped away, sirens blaring, leaving the station in stunned silence, and the small town of Maplewood forever changed by the arrival of one little girl with a cucumber and a secret. The emergency room doors burst open as the paramedics wheeled Emma's small form into Maplewood General Hospital. Officer Parker jogged alongside, his eyes never leaving the unconscious child. 5-year-old female, unresponsive abdominal distension, the paramedic reported to the waiting medical team. "BP is low, pulse rapid." Dr. Sarah Chen, the hospital's pediatric specialist, immediately took charge. With her gentle hands and determined expression, she had become known throughout Maplewood as a guardian angel for children. "Get her to exam room 1, Dr. Chen ordered, then noticed Parker. "Officer, I need information. What happened to her?" "She came into the station alone, mentioned something about someone using a cucumber to fix her, then collapsed," Parker explained, the words sounding even more disturbing as he spoke them. Dr. Chen's expression darkened. "We'll run tests immediately. Please wait here." Parker paced the sterile hallway for what felt like hours, the image of Emma's frightened eyes haunting him. The waiting room slowly filled with officers and curious townspeople as rumors spread through Maplewood like wildfire. Mayor Thompson arrived, his usual political smile replaced by genuine concern. "Any news, Parker? The whole town's talking." "Nothing yet," Parker replied. We're trying to identify her family. She said her name is Emma. Emma Wilson, came a voice from behind them. Rebecca Morris, the county social worker, approached with a folder in hand. Principal Evans recognized her from the description. She's a kindergartner at Maplewood Elementary. Rebecca's expression grew troubled. She lives with her father, Michael Wilson. Mother left the picture last year. Where's the father now? Parker asked. That's the problem. We can't reach him. Neighbors say they haven't seen him in days. A chill ran down Parker's spine. Children didn't just show up at police stations with swollen stomachs and cryptic messages unless something was terribly wrong. Dr. Chen emerged from the examination room, her face carefully composed in the way medical professionals manage when delivering difficult news. Officer Parker, may I speak with you privately? They stepped into a quiet consultation room where Dr. Chen closed the door. Emma is stable but in serious condition. She has severe intestinal inflammation and blockage. We found, she hesitated, unusual substances in her system that I can't immediately identify, and the ultrasound showed something concerning. What kind of concerning? Parker asked, his protective instincts flaring. I can't say definitively without more tests, but Dr. Chen's professional composure cracked slightly. In 20 years of medicine, I've never seen a case quite like this in a child so young. The implications hung heavy in the air between them. We need to find her father, Parker said firmly. There's more, Dr. Chen added. Emma briefly regained consciousness. She became extremely agitated when she saw our medical equipment and kept saying, "No more special medicine, please." Parker, whatever happened to this child wasn't a one-time incident. Parker's jaw tightened. I'm getting a search warrant for their house. As he left the hospital, local news vans were already arriving. The story of a mysterious little girl with a swollen stomach and a cucumber was spreading far beyond Maplewood's boundaries. At the Wilson home, a small blue house at the edge of town, Parker met Detective Laura Martinez, the department's most experienced investigator. Ready? She asked, search warrant in hand. Parker nodded grimly. Let's find out what happened to Emma Wilson. As they approached the silent house, neither officer could have prepared for the strange discoveries waiting inside, or how deeply this case would shake their small town to its core. The Wilson home stood eerily quiet at the end of Maple Street, a modest blue house with white shutters and a well-tended garden that seemed to contradict the unfolding mystery. Officer Parker and Detective Martinez approached cautiously, the search warrant a heavy weight in Martinez's hand. Doesn't look abandoned, Martinez observed, noting the freshly mowed lawn. That's what makes this strange, Parker replied, climbing the porch steps. Michael Wilson hasn't been seen in days, yet nothing seems out of place. After announcing themselves and receiving no answer, they entered using the master key provided by the property manager. Inside, the home was spotlessly clean, unnaturally so for a household with a 5-year-old child. No dishes in the sink, no toys on the floor, Martinez murmured. It's like someone cleaned up before disappearing. The kitchen revealed the first clue. A blender with dried green residue, alongside jars of unusual powders and herbs labeled with handwritten notes. Morning cleanse, toxin release, healing blend. What kind of parent gives this to a kindergartner? Parker wondered aloud, photographing the items. Martinez opened the refrigerator to find it stocked with organic vegetables and homemade juices in labeled bottles. The medicine Dr. Chen mentioned might be these concoctions. Their search led them to Emma's bedroom, a splash of pink in an otherwise sterile home. Here, finally, were signs of a child, stuffed animals, picture books, and a small desk with crayons and paper. Parker's heart tightened at the thought of the little girl now lying in a hospital bed. Martinez gently lifted a stack of drawings from the desk, and her expression changed. Parker, you need to see these. The childish illustrations told a disturbing story. A small stick figure with yellow hair and a round, swollen circle for a stomach. A taller figure standing nearby. Strange green bottles and vegetables. In one drawing, the small figure had tears streaming down her face while drinking from a green bottle. She was documenting what was happening to her, Parker said softly. Martinez nodded, continuing through the drawings. Look at these dates. The stomach gets bigger in each picture over the last 2 months. The final drawing showed the small figure holding what appeared to be a cucumber, written in crooked kindergarten letters, "To fix my tummy." Parker carefully gathered the drawings as evidence, his mind racing with questions. What had Michael Wilson been doing to his daughter, and why? In the master bedroom, the mystery deepened. The nightstand drawer contained prescription bottles for Sarah Wilson, treatments for advanced cancer, all dated from the previous year. A journal revealed entries documenting Sarah's declining health and Michael's growing distrust of conventional medicine. The most recent entry read, "The doctors killed Sarah with their poison. I won't let them do the same to Emma. The swelling means it's working. The toxins are coming out. Ward promises if we continue the cleanse, she'll be spared Sarah's fate." "Who's Ward?" Parker asked, photographing the journal pages. Martinez pointed to a brochure she'd found, Natural Healing Path Wellness Retreat, with a bearded man named Gabriel Ward described as a holistic healing guide, specializing in natural cancer treatments and detoxification. Their search was interrupted by Parker's phone ringing. The hospital. "Emma's awake," Dr. Chen said without preamble, "but something's wrong. She's hysterical, screaming about special medicine and bad things in her tummy. We can't calm her down. She's asking for you, Officer Parker." "I'll be right there," he said, already moving toward the door. As they left, Martinez pointed to a calendar on the refrigerator. A bus ticket receipt was pinned to today's date alongside an address, Natural Healing Path Retreat, Pine Ridge Mountains. "I'll put out an APB for Michael Wilson," Martinez said, "and I'll check out this retreat. Something tells me that's where we'll find him." Parker nodded, his mind already back with the frightened little girl who had stumbled into his life that morning. What did Michael Wilson do to his daughter? Martinez wondered aloud as they pulled away from the quiet house. "I don't know," Parker replied grimly, "but I intend to find out." Behind them, the blue house kept its secrets, as whispers spread through Maplewood about the little girl, her missing father, and the mysterious cucumber that had started it all. The hospital. Corridors seemed to stretch endlessly as Officer Parker rushed toward Emma's room, the sound of a child's terrified screams growing louder with each step. He paused at the doorway, steeling himself before entering. Inside, medical staff surrounded Emma's bed, attempting to calm her as she thrashed against the sheets, her small face contorted in fear. Dr. Chen looked up with relief as Parker entered. "Emma," he called softly, approaching the bed. "Emma, it's Officer Parker from the police station. Remember me?" The child's screams subsided instantly, her wide blue eyes finding his face. "The policeman," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "That's right," he said, taking a seat beside her bed as the medical staff stepped back. "You can call me James." Emma's tiny hand reached for his, and he gently took it, noting how fragile her fingers felt in his palm. "They want to give me hospital medicine," she said, her voice trembling. "Daddy says hospital medicine is poison." Parker exchanged a glance with Dr. Chen. "Emma, Dr. Chen is trying to help make your tummy feel better. The medicine here isn't poison." "But Daddy said—" Her face crumpled. "Where's my daddy? He said never to go to hospitals. The bad doctors killed Mommy here." Parker chose his words carefully. "We're looking for your dad right now. Can you tell me where he might have gone?" Emma clutched at her stomach, wincing. "To see the special doctor, the one who knows about the bad things inside people." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "He said I have them too, like Mommy did. That's why my tummy hurts and gets bigger." Dr. Chen approached slowly, sitting on Emma's other side. "Emma, sweetie, can you tell us about the special medicine your daddy gives you?" The child's face scrunched in disgust. "Green drinks that taste yucky, and special food that makes my tummy hurt sometimes. But Daddy says it's the bad things coming out." Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to drink them anymore, but Daddy says I'll get sick like Mommy if I don't." Parker felt a cold anger building inside him, tempered by the realization that the situation might be more complex than simple cruelty. "Emma, what about the cucumber you brought to the police station?" Emma looked down, suddenly ashamed. "Daddy wasn't home. My tummy hurt so bad. I saw the special doctor use vegetables to take bad things out of people on the computer videos. I thought—" Her voice faltered. "I thought it would fix me." The implication of what this 5-year-old had attempted to do to herself out of desperation made Parker's heart constrict. "Emma, you're safe now," he promised. "We're going to help your tummy feel better the right way." As Emma gradually calmed, a nurse approached with a sedative prescribed by Dr. Chen. "This will help you sleep, sweetheart," Dr. Chen explained. "When you wake up, you'll feel a little better." "Will you stay?" Emma asked Parker, her eyelids already growing heavy. "I'll be right here," he promised. As Emma drifted into sleep, Parker stepped outside with Dr. Chen. "This is worse than I thought," Dr. Chen said, her professional composure slipping. "Based on what she's described and our initial tests, I believe Michael Wilson has been giving his daughter dangerous herbal concoctions, possibly as alternative cancer treatment. The intestinal blockage is severe, possibly caused by undigested plant material." "She mentioned her mother died," Parker said. "The medicine at their house suggests Sarah Wilson had cancer." "I'll check hospital records," Dr. Chen replied. "If Sarah Wilson was a patient here, we might learn more about what Michael believes happened to her." Parker's phone buzzed with a text from Martinez. "Found something security footage from natural market shows. Michael buying unusual herbs and vegetables 3 days ago. Also, school principal wants to talk, heading there now." "I need to go," Parker told Dr. Chen, "but I promised Emma I'd be here." "We'll call you if she wakes," Dr. Chen assured him. "Parker, whoever this special doctor is, he's dangerous. What Emma described sounds like someone exploiting a grieving family with pseudoscience." As Parker left the hospital, he noticed a small crowd had gathered outside. News vans from neighboring counties had arrived, and a reporter thrust a microphone toward him. "Officer, can you comment on rumors that a kindergartner was brought to the hospital with suspicious injuries? Is it true her father has disappeared?" "No comment during an ongoing investigation," Parker stated firmly, pushing past. At Maplewood Elementary, Principal Evans and Emma's kindergarten teacher, Ms. Winters, waited in the office with Detective Martinez. "Emma has been absent frequently this semester," Ms. Winters explained, her kind face etched with worry. "When she does attend, she's often tired, clutching her stomach. Last week, she told the class her daddy was giving her special smoothies to get the poison out." "Did you report this?" Parker asked, trying to keep accusation from his voice. Ms. Winters looked down. "I called twice. The social worker visited, but said everything seemed fine." Martinez handed Parker a drawing Emma had made in class the previous month, a stick figure family with an X through the mother figure, and the words, "Mommy got stars in heaven because doctors couldn't fix her." "Emma told me her father doesn't trust doctors anymore," Ms. Winters added softly. "I should have pushed harder. I knew something wasn't right." As they left the school, Parker's phone rang again. It was Dr. Chen. "Parker, I found Sarah Wilson's records. She had advanced pancreatic cancer, refused conventional treatment halfway through her chemotherapy, and died 3 months later. Her oncologist noted concerns about influence from alternative medicine practitioners exploiting the family's desperation." The pieces were beginning to fit together, forming a picture that made Parker's stomach churn, not with anger at Michael Wilson, but with the dawning realization that they were dealing with something far more insidious, a vulnerable family destroyed by grief, fear, and the predatory promises of a false healer. "We need to find this Gabriel Ward," Parker told Martinez as they drove back to the station, "before he convinces other desperate parents to harm their children in the name of healing." The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Maplewood as Parker and Martinez regrouped at the station. A map spread before them showed the location of the Natural Healing Path Retreat, a remote property nestled in the Pine Ridge Mountains, about 2 hours from town. According to their website, Gabriel Ward runs weekend healing intensives for families dealing with chronic illness, Martinez explained, scrolling through her tablet. "Listen to this. Modern medicine poisons the body while treating symptoms. Our protocols target the root causes, releasing toxins that conventional doctors refuse to acknowledge." Parker frowned at the promotional photos showing a bearded man in his 50s, arms outstretched to the sky, surrounded by grateful-looking followers. "That's our special doctor," he murmured. Sergeant Willis approached with a printout. "Just got this from state police. Michael Wilson's credit card was used at a gas station near Pine Ridge yesterday. He's definitely headed to the retreat." "We need to bring him in," Parker said, "but carefully. If what Emma said is true, he genuinely believes he's saving his daughter from cancer. His phone buzzed, a text from the hospital. Emma was awake and asking for him. "Go," Martinez said. "I'll coordinate with state police to locate Wilson. And Parker, we're getting search warrants for Ward's retreat. Whatever he's selling these desperate families, it nearly killed that little girl." Back at the hospital, Parker found Emma sitting up in bed, looking slightly better after fluids and rest. She clutched a teddy bear the nurses had given her. "Officer James," she called when she saw him, using the name he'd offered earlier. Her smile flickered briefly before fading. "Is my daddy coming?" Parker sat beside her bed. "We're still looking for him, Emma, but I wanted to ask you about the special doctor your daddy takes you to see." Emma's expression darkened. "I don't like him. He has a scratchy beard and says there are monsters inside me that need to come out." She hugged the teddy bear tighter. "He tells Daddy I have the same monsters that ate Mommy from inside." "Does this special doctor have a name?" Parker asked gently. "Dr. Ward," Emma whispered, as if afraid speaking his name might summon him. "He shows videos of people with big tummies getting better after his special medicine. He said my tummy getting bigger means the medicine is working." Her bottom lip trembled. "But it just hurts." Dr. Chen entered, carrying a tablet with test results. After exchanging a glance with Parker, she smiled at Emma. "How about we watch some cartoons for a bit," she suggested, setting up a show on the room's TV before motioning Parker into the hallway. "It's worse than we thought," she said quietly. "The blockage is severe. The substances in her system include dangerously high levels of detoxifying herbs that are actually toxic in these concentrations. We need to operate soon to remove the blockage, or she could face permanent damage." "Do you need parental consent?" Parker asked. "We're filing for emergency medical custody. Given the evidence that these treatments caused her condition, a judge should approve it immediately." Parker's phone rang. Martinez calling from a state police cruiser. "We found Michael Wilson's car abandoned at a bus station near Pine Ridge," she reported. Inside was a duffel bag with Emma's medical records, or what he considers medical records, pages of notes about treatments, detox reactions, and healing crises. "Parker, he's been giving her these concoctions for months, documenting her deterioration while believing she was healing." "And Ward?" Parker asked. "The retreat is locked down. They're claiming patient confidentiality. We're waiting on the warrant to enter, but someone tipped them off. If Wilson is inside, they're hiding him." As Parker hung up, a nurse rushed toward them. "Dr. Chen, Emma's stats are dropping. The blockage may have shifted." Parker watched helplessly as medical staff swarmed into Emma's room, the cartoon still playing cheerfully on the TV as they worked to stabilize her. Through the window, he could see her tiny face, now pale and frightened again, her eyes searching for him as doctors surrounded her bed. In that moment, he made a promise to himself. He would find the man responsible for putting that fear in her eyes, not Michael Wilson, who was a victim of grief and manipulation, but Gabriel Ward, who had exploited that grief to the point of endangering an innocent child. The emergency surgery lasted 3 hours. Parker remained in the waiting room, unable to leave despite Martinez's updates about the investigation. Something about Emma's searching eyes as they wheeled her into surgery had rooted him to the spot. Around him, the waiting room had filled with Maplewood residents. Ms. Winters sat quietly grading papers, occasionally wiping away tears. Principal Evans paced near the coffee machine. Even Mayor Thompson had arrived, his political smile replaced by genuine concern. "How did this happen in our town?" the mayor asked Parker, his voice low. "A little girl suffering while we all went about our business?" Parker had no answer. The question echoed his own thoughts. Dr. Chen emerged from surgery looking exhausted, but relieved. "We removed the blockage," she announced to the waiting crowd. "Emma is stable. The substances causing the inflammation have been identified, a dangerous mixture of herbs that should never be given to children." "Will she recover completely?" Ms. Winters asked. "With proper care and nutrition, yes. The physical damage should heal." Dr. Chen's expression grew troubled. "The emotional impact may take longer." As the group dispersed, sharing the good news through texts and calls, Parker's phone rang. It was Martinez. "We've got him," she said without preamble. "State police found Michael Wilson walking along the highway 10 miles from the retreat. He's in custody, but Parker..." He's not what we expected." "What do you mean?" "He's devastated about Emma. The officer said he broke down completely when they told him she needed emergency surgery. He keeps saying he was trying to save her, that Dr. Ward promised the swelling meant healing." Parker's grip tightened on his phone. "Is he cooperating?" "Fully. He's given a statement about Ward's retreat and treatments. The state police are executing the search warrant now. They'll bring Wilson to Maplewood for questioning tomorrow morning." After hanging up, Parker went to check on Emma in recovery. The small figure in the hospital bed looked impossibly fragile, connected to monitors and IVs. A nurse sat beside her, reading a children's book. She nodded to Parker as he entered. "She'll be unconscious for a while yet," the nurse explained, "but they say children can still hear sometimes. I thought she might like a story." "Thank you," Parker said, his voice thick with emotion. He took a seat on Emma's other side, gently holding her tiny hand. The nurse tactfully excused herself, leaving them alone. "We found your dad, Emma," he said softly, "and we're going to figure this all out." A slight pressure against his palm, Emma's fingers twitching in his hand, was the only response, but somehow it felt like enough. The next morning, Parker arrived at the station early to find a crowd gathered outside. Word had spread about Emma's situation, and the community had mobilized. A handwritten banner read, "Get well soon, Emma." Tables overflowed with donated toys, books, and children's clothes. Rebecca Morris, the social worker, greeted him with a clipboard. "The response has been overwhelming," she said. 3 families have already offered emergency foster placement when she's released from the hospital." Inside, Martinez waited with a stack of files. "The state police raid found more than we expected," she reported. "Ward has been operating this retreat for 5 years. We found records of at least 20 families with seriously ill members who abandoned conventional treatment after meeting him." She spread photographs across the table, the retreat's main building, rooms filled with herbal preparation equipment, and a wall of before and after pictures of success stories. "And this," Martinez added grimly, pulling out a financial ledger. "Ward charged the Wilsons over $50,000 for his cancer prevention protocol for Emma. That's on top of the $75,000 he took during Sarah Wilson's illness." Parker felt sick. "He cleaned them out. Completely. Michael Wilson mortgaged their house to pay for the treatments. He truly believed Ward had the only cure for what he was convinced was early-stage cancer in Emma." Before they could discuss further, the station door opened. 2 state officers escorted in a man Parker recognized from photographs, Michael Wilson. But instead of the monster Parker had imagined, he saw a broken man, hollow-eyed and shaking, the picture of a father who had lost everything. "Where's Emma?" were his first words. "Please, is my little girl alive?" The desperation in his voice was that of a parent who had made a terrible mistake but had never intended harm. Parker realized with sudden clarity that there were 2 victims in this tragedy, and the real villain was still at large. The interrogation room felt unusually solemn as Parker sat across from Michael Wilson. Gone was the formal distance he typically maintained with suspects. This wasn't an interrogation, it was a conversation with a shattered man. "Emma is recovering from surgery," Parker explained gently. "The doctors removed a severe intestinal blockage caused by the substances she's been consuming." Michael's shoulders slumped with visible relief. "Thank God," he whispered. "They told me she collapsed, but not why." His hands trembled as he reached for the water glass Martinez had provided. "I never meant to hurt her. You have to believe me." "Why don't you tell us how this started?" Parker suggested, pressing record on the interview device. Michael's story poured out in anguished fragments. His wife Sarah's diagnosis with pancreatic cancer, the grueling chemotherapy that seemed to make her worse, the moment an acquaintance suggested Gabriel Ward's Natural Healing Center as an alternative. "Sarah was so sick from the chemo," Michael recalled, eyes distant. "When we met Ward, he explained how conventional treatments poison the body, while his protocols target the disease at its source. He showed us testimonials from patients who claimed to be cancer-free after abandoning chemotherapy." "So Sarah stopped her treatments," Martinez prompted. Michael nodded, tears forming. "Ward said the cancer would leave her body through detoxification symptoms. When she got worse, he said it was a healing crisis, proof the treatment was working." His voice broke. She died believing she was getting better. And Emma? Parker asked quietly. 3 months after Sarah died, Emma had stomach pains. Normal childhood stuff, probably. But I was terrified. Michael's hands clenched. Ward said he'd seen it before, children developing the same cancer as their parents due to inherited toxins. He claimed his protocols could prevent Emma from suffering Sarah's fate if we started immediately. Parker exchanged glances with Martinez. The calculated cruelty of preying on a grieving father's fears was almost unfathomable. The protocols were expensive, Michael continued. But how could I put a price on my daughter's life? I sold investments, took out loans, eventually mortgaged our house. Ward kept saying her symptoms, the swelling, the pain, were signs of toxins leaving her body. Did you ever question him? Martinez asked. Michael's face crumpled with shame. Once, when Emma was crying from stomach pain, Ward showed me slides of what he claimed were cancer cells from Emma's blood samples. He said if we stopped, she'd be dead within months. His voice dropped to a whisper. I was so afraid of losing her like I lost Sarah. As the interview continued, Parker pieced together the full picture. A grieving, desperate father manipulated by a skilled con man with enough medical terminology to sound legitimate. Michael had become isolated from friends who questioned Ward's methods, eventually dedicating himself entirely to Emma's treatment. The cucumber, Parker said finally. Emma mentioned trying to fix herself with it. Michael covered his face. Ward uses vegetable juices and sometimes procedures with them to draw out toxins. Emma must have seen videos of his methods. When I went to get more supplies, he couldn't continue. After the interview, Parker and Martinez met with the district attorney, Regina Oakes, who reviewed the transcript thoughtfully. We're charging Wilson with child endangerment, she explained, but with mitigating circumstances. His cooperation is crucial for building a case against Ward. Ward is the real criminal here, Parker insisted. Agreed. We're coordinating with the state to charge him with practicing medicine without a license, fraud, and child endangerment. But we need more evidence of his methods. Martinez's phone buzzed. The state police just sent this, she said, displaying an email. They've interviewed 3 other families who left Ward's program. All report similar experiences, being convinced their loved ones had cancer or were developing it, paying thousands for treatments, watching them get worse while being told they were healing. Parker's determination solidified. What about Emma? What happens to her now? Regina sighed. That's for family court to decide. Given the circumstances, Michael will likely get supervised visitation while he completes counseling and parenting classes, but Emma needs a safe placement immediately upon discharge. Parker thought of the little girl who had grabbed his hand in the hospital, whose trust had been betrayed by adults who should have protected her. Before he fully realized what he was saying, the words were out of his mouth. I'll take her. Martinez and Regina stared at him in surprise. Temporarily, he clarified, until a permanent arrangement is made. I'm already approved as an emergency foster placement from previous cases. As he left the station that evening, Parker wondered at his impulsive offer. In 20 years of police work, he'd never become this personally involved. Yet, something about Emma, her courage, her resilience despite everything, had awakened a protective instinct he couldn't ignore. At the hospital, he found her awake, color returning to her cheeks as she carefully ate applesauce under Dr. Chen's supervision. Officer James? She called, her face brightening. Dr. Chen says the bad things are gone from my tummy. That's right, he confirmed, taking a seat beside her. You're going to feel much better now. Where's my daddy? She asked, her spoon pausing halfway to her mouth. Parker chose his words carefully. He's talking with some people who want to help him understand what happened. He loves you very much, Emma. Her small face grew serious. The special doctor was wrong, wasn't he? I don't have monsters inside me like Mommy did. No, sweetheart, Parker said firmly. You don't. Gabriel Ward sat across from Detective Martinez in the county jail's interview room, his serene demeanor at odds with his orange jumpsuit. His lawyer, a sharp-faced woman in an expensive suit, watched attentively as Martinez placed photos on the table. 10 families have come forward, Martinez stated. All claim you diagnosed their loved ones with cancer or precancerous conditions without medical credentials. Ward smiled benevolently. I never diagnosed anyone. I merely observed imbalances in their natural energy fields and offered nutritional support. Nutritional support that cost thousands of dollars per month, Martinez countered, sliding forward financial records. You charged the Wilson family over $125,000 for treatments that nearly killed their daughter. Emma Wilson was responding beautifully to the protocols, Ward replied, unruffled. Natural healing sometimes triggers cleansing reactions as toxins leave the body. Her father, unfortunately, panicked before the process could complete. Martinez controlled her anger with visible effort. Mr. Ward, medical experts have confirmed Emma had a severe intestinal blockage caused by substances you prescribed. There was no cancer, no toxins, just a little girl being systematically poisoned. For the first time, Ward's composure wavered slightly. The conventional medical establishment has persecuted natural healers for centuries. They don't understand the deeper processes at work. Save it for your trial, Martinez replied, gathering her files. Child endangerment charges alone could put you away for decades. Meanwhile, across town, Parker was helping Emma settle into his apartment. The spare room had been transformed with sky blue walls, cloud-patterned bedding, and a small bookshelf filled with children's stories. Emma's eyes had widened with delight when she first saw it. "Is this really all for me?" she had asked in wonder. Now she sat cross-legged on her new bed while Parker unpacked the few belongings they'd retrieved from her home, favorite stuffed animals, drawings, and clothes. "Will I see my daddy soon?" Emma asked carefully. Arranging her toys, Parker paused. The court had approved supervised visitation starting next week. "Yes, in a few days. He's talking with people who are helping him understand what happened with Dr. Ward." Emma nodded solemnly. "Daddy thought the special doctor was making me better, but he was wrong." Parker marveled at her simple understanding of the situation, free of the anger adults might harbor. "That's right. Your daddy loves you very much, but Dr. Ward told him things that weren't true." "Is Dr. Ward in trouble?" "Yes, he is. He won't be able to make any more children sick." Emma seemed satisfied with this explanation and moved on to showing Parker her favorite stuffed rabbit, a well-loved toy missing one ear. That evening, as Parker prepared a simple dinner, his phone rang. It was Dr. Chen. "How's our patient doing?" she asked. "Settling in well," Parker replied, watching Emma color at the kitchen table. "Better than I expected, honestly." "Children are remarkably resilient," Dr. Chen said, "but don't be surprised if there are emotional after-effects. I've arranged for her to see Dr. Torres, our child psychologist, twice weekly." After dinner and a bedtime story, Parker tucked Emma in, leaving her nightlight glowing softly. "Officer James?" she called as he reached the door. "You can call me Parker, remember?" "Parker," she tried. "If the special doctor was wrong about me having monsters inside, was he wrong about Mommy too?" The question caught him off guard. "What do you mean, Emma?" "Could the hospital doctors have made Mommy better instead?" Parker returned to sit on the edge of her bed, choosing his words carefully. "Sometimes, Emma, even the best doctors can't make someone better. Your mommy was very sick, but you're right. Dr. Ward was wrong about many things." Emma nodded thoughtfully. "I miss her. Daddy said the hospital made her sicker, but maybe that's not true either. Your daddy was very sad and confused after your mommy died. Sometimes when people are sad, they believe things that help them make sense of why bad things happen." This explanation seemed to satisfy her. She clutched her rabbit closer and soon drifted to sleep, leaving Parker to marvel at how a 5-year-old could cut through complex adult deceptions to reach simple truths. The next morning, Rebecca Morris visited to check on Emma's adjustment. "She seems to be doing remarkably well," Rebecca observed as they watched Emma in the living room, drawing pictures with new crayons Parker had purchased. "She talks about her father often," Parker noted. "When is his psychological evaluation scheduled?" "Tomorrow. Initial reports suggest he was in an extremely vulnerable psychological state after his wife's death. Ward's tactics, isolation, creating fear, offering exclusive salvation, are classic manipulation techniques. Michael Wilson was essentially brainwashed." "Will that affect the charges against him?" Rebecca sighed. "The DA is taking everything into consideration. Child endangerment charges will stand, but with significant mitigating factors. With therapy, parenting classes, and supervised visitation, family reunification remains the long-term goal. Emma approached, holding up a drawing of 3 stick figures, one tall with a badge, one medium-sized, and one small with yellow hair. "That's you and Daddy and me," she explained proudly. As Rebecca excused herself to make a call, Parker studied the drawing. Unlike the earlier pictures they'd found in Emma's room, this one showed all 3 figures smiling, standing under a bright sun. "This is beautiful, Emma," he said, genuinely touched. "May I keep it?" She nodded enthusiastically. "It's our family now. Not forever, but for now." The simple wisdom in her statement struck Parker deeply. This child, who had endured so much confusion and pain, understood something many adults never grasped, that families could take different forms, that love and safety mattered more than permanence. As he pinned the drawing to his refrigerator, Parker felt a surge of determination. Emma's recovery, both physical and emotional, was just beginning, but with proper support, she would be all right. And somehow, against all his professional training about maintaining distance, he knew his life had been permanently changed by a little girl with a cucumber and unexpected wisdom. News of Gabriel Ward's arrest spread quickly beyond Maplewood's boundaries. As state investigators dug deeper into his operation, more families came forward with similar stories, desperate situations, expensive treatments, and deteriorating health disguised as healing. Parker watched the morning news coverage while Emma ate breakfast, carefully keeping the volume low. "Is that the special doctor?" she asked, spotting Ward's bearded face on the screen. "Yes, but you don't need to worry about him anymore," Parker assured her, changing the channel to cartoons. Later that morning, they visited Dr. Torres, the child psychologist. While Emma played with therapeutic toys in a colorful office, Parker waited outside, anxiety gnawing at him. "She's doing remarkably well," Dr. Torres reported afterward. "Emma understands more than you might expect. She knows her father was trying to help her and that he was misled." "Has she talked about the cucumber incident?" Parker asked quietly. "Yes, she says she was trying to help herself because her tummy hurt so badly." Dr. Torres's expression softened. "Children often attempt to solve problems in ways that make sense to them, especially when they've seen adults performing similar actions." That afternoon, Parker received a call from Martinez. "Ward's finances are a goldmine of evidence," she reported excitedly. "He's been running this scam for over a decade, moving between states when regulations tightened. The total amount he's taken from vulnerable families exceeds $5 million. "What about Michael?" "Wilson's evaluation?" Parker asked. "Psychiatric report confirms he was in an extremely vulnerable mental state after his wife's death. Classic victim of predatory manipulation." Martinez paused. "The judge is reviewing his case separately from Ward's. Family court hearing is scheduled for next week to determine long-term custody arrangements for Emma." As Parker hung up, he noticed Emma watching him intently from the doorway. "Was that about my daddy?" she asked. "Yes," Parker admitted. "Remember I told you that you'll see him soon? The visit is being arranged for next week." Emma nodded seriously. "I made him a picture." She held up a drawing of 2 stick figures holding hands. "So he remembers I still love him, even though he made a mistake." Parker felt a lump form in his throat at the simple forgiveness children could offer, something many adults struggled to achieve after a lifetime of trying. The family court waiting room was quiet except for Emma's soft humming as she colored in a book Parker had brought. Today would be her first supervised visit with her father since her hospitalization. "Are you excited to see your dad?" Parker asked gently. Emma nodded, though her crayon paused briefly. "Is he still sad?" Before Parker could answer, Rebecca Morris arrived with Michael Wilson. The transformation was stark. The hollow-eyed, desperate man from the police station had been replaced by someone who stood straighter, though anxiety lined his face. "Emma," Michael whispered, kneeling as his daughter looked up. For a heartbeat, Emma hesitated. Then she launched herself into her father's arms. "Daddy, I made you pictures!" Parker and Rebecca stepped back, giving them space while remaining present. Michael held his daughter carefully, as if afraid she might break. "I'm so sorry, Emmy," he murmured into her hair. "I didn't understand." Emma patted his cheek with a small hand. "It's okay, Daddy. Officer Parker explained that you were confused because you missed Mommy. The simple forgiveness brought tears to Michael's eyes. As father and daughter reconnected, Parker realized that healing had begun for both of them, fragile and tentative, but real. Autumn painted Maplewood in brilliant colors as Emma settled into a routine divided between Parker's apartment and supervised visits with her father. Michael Wilson had committed fully to his rehabilitation program, attending grief counseling, parenting classes, and education sessions about legitimate medical science. "He's making remarkable progress," Rebecca reported during their weekly check-in. "His therapist says he's working through the guilt and manipulation in healthy ways." Parker watched through the one-way glass as Emma and Michael played a board game in the visitation room. The ease between them had grown with each meeting. "What happens next?" Parker asked, surprised by the twinge of sadness he felt at the thought of Emma eventually leaving his care. "The judge will review the case next month," Rebecca explained. "If Michael continues his progress, we'll likely move to extended visitation, perhaps even overnight stays." Later that evening, Emma sat at Parker's kitchen table, carefully writing in a journal Dr. Torres had suggested, a special book where she could express her feelings through words and pictures. "Parker," she asked, looking up suddenly, "when I go back to live with Daddy, will I still see you?" The question caught him off guard. "Of course, Emma, that's entirely up to you," she nodded solemnly. "Good, because you're my friend now, not just a police officer." The following day brought unexpected news. Martinez called while Parker was dropping Emma at school. "The DA made a deal with Michael Wilson," she reported. "In exchange for his full testimony against Ward, they're reducing charges to misdemeanor child endangerment with probation. No jail time, conditional on completing his current programs." "That seems fair," Parker replied, watching Emma join her classmates on the playground. "He was as much a victim as she was." "There's more," Martinez continued. "Ward's lawyer is pushing for a plea deal, too. Apparently, our case spooked him. 3 former patients have died, and their families are filing wrongful death suits." That evening, Parker helped Emma prepare for a special event, her first dinner at her old home with her father, supervised by Rebecca. "Are you nervous?" Parker asked as they drove to the Wilson house. Emma shook her head. "Daddy said he got rid of all the special medicine, and he made real spaghetti, not green drinks." The simple dinner was a milestone in their healing journey. Michael had cleaned the house, removing all traces of Ward's protocols. The kitchen now contained normal, healthy food. Emma gave Parker a tour of her bedroom, proudly showing him where she had hung the drawings from her time at his apartment. As they prepared to leave, Michael pulled Parker aside. "I can never thank you enough," he said, voice thick with emotion. "Not just for saving her, but for showing her what safe actually feels like." Parker watched Emma gather her belongings, chattering happily about returning soon. The attachment he'd formed with this resilient child was unlike anything in his 20 years of police work. Whatever the future held, he realized, Emma had changed him as much as he'd helped change her circumstances. "She's an extraordinary kid," Parker replied simply. "You both deserve a second chance." Winter arrived in Maplewood, bringing with it the first snow and a critical milestone, Gabriel Ward's trial. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters and former patients as Michael Wilson prepared to testify about the manipulation and dangerous treatments that had nearly cost his daughter's life. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" Parker asked, standing with Michael in the courthouse hallway. Michael straightened his tie, determination replacing the EU uncertainty that had once defined him. "Emma is brave every day. I can be brave for her." Inside the courtroom, Ward maintained his serene facade, even as Michael detailed the gradual manipulation, how grief over his wife's death had been weaponized, how fear for his daughter had been manufactured and exploited. "He showed me slides he claimed contained Emma's blood samples," Michael testified. "He pointed to dark spots and called them cancer markers, the same ones he said had been in my wife's blood before her diagnosis. I was terrified of losing Emma, too." When Michael described Emma's deteriorating condition, how Ward had convinced him the increasing pain and swelling were healing reactions, several jurors visibly recoiled. "The more Emma suffered," Michael concluded, his voice breaking, "the more Ward insisted we were on the right path. When I questioned anything, he would remind me of Sarah's death and ask if I wanted the same for our daughter." Back at Parker's apartment, Emma and Ms. Winters were baking cookies, carefully keeping the little girl occupied during her father's testimony. "Look what we made," Emma exclaimed when Parker returned, proudly displaying slightly lopsided chocolate chip cookies. "Ms. Winters says we can save some for Daddy." That evening, after Emma was asleep, Parker received a call from Martinez. "Wilson's testimony was powerful," she reported. 3 other families testified afterward with nearly identical experiences. Ward's lawyer has approached the DA about a plea deal. "Will they take it?" Parker asked. "Probably. It would mean guaranteed prison time without putting more families through the trauma of testifying." She paused. "How's Emma doing with the transition planning?" The court had approved a gradual reunification schedule. Emma now spent 3 days a week at her father's house, with the remaining time at Parker's apartment steadily decreasing. "Better than expected," Parker admitted. "She's excited about moving home permanently next month, but we've worked out a schedule for regular visits afterward." As Christmas approached, Emma divided her time between decorating both homes, insisting that Parker and her father needed to have matching stockings. "So Santa knows we're all connected," she explained seriously. On Christmas Eve, Michael invited Parker to join them for dinner, a gesture that would have seemed impossible months earlier. The Wilson home was transformed with twinkling lights and the scent of cinnamon. Emma proudly showed Parker the gingerbread house she and her father had constructed. "Daddy's teaching me about real food now," she announced, "not yucky medicine drinks." After Emma went to bed, excited for Santa's arrival, Michael and Parker sat in the living room with coffee. "The final hearing is next week," Michael said quietly. "Rebecca thinks the judge will approve full custody with continued support services." Parker nodded, feeling the bittersweet mix of happiness for Emma's homecoming and sadness at the end of their daily routine together. "You'll always be part of her life," Michael assured him, seeming to read his thoughts. "You became her safe place when she needed one most. That bond doesn't disappear." Outside, snow fell softly on Maplewood, covering the town in a blanket of white that seemed to symbolize the fresh start this small family had been granted, and the unlikely friendship that had emerged from tragedy. The courthouse felt less intimidating this time, its marble halls softened by morning sunlight, as Parker, Michael, and Emma waited for the final custody hearing to begin. Emma sat between them on a wooden bench, swinging her legs and reading a book Parker had given her about a brave little rabbit. "Nervous?" Parker asked Michael quietly. "A little," Michael admitted. "But I'm ready. The house is child-proofed. I've completed all the required programs, and my therapist submitted her final recommendation yesterday." Emma looked up from her book. "Are we going to see the judge who decides where I live?" "That's right," Michael explained, "but it's nothing to worry about. He just wants to make sure everything is ready for you to come home for good." Rebecca Morris approached with a file folder, her usual professional demeanor brightened by a smile. "The judge would like to speak with Emma privately before the hearing. It's standard procedure, just a brief friendly chat." As Rebecca led Emma toward the judge's chambers, Parker noticed Michael's hands trembling slightly. "She'll be fine," Parker reassured him. "Emma understands more than most adults give her credit for." Inside the judge's wood-paneled office, Emma sat in a large leather chair, her feet barely reaching the edge. Judge Franklin, known for his formality in court, had removed his robes and knelt to Emma's level. "Hello, Emma. I'm Judge Franklin. I have to make some important decisions about your family today. Would you mind answering a few questions for me?" Emma nodded solemnly. "I can do that." "How do you feel about living with your daddy again?" Emma's face brightened. "I'm excited. He makes my favorite pancakes now, and we read stories every night. He doesn't make me drink the yucky green medicine anymore." The judge smiled gently. "And how about Officer Parker? I hear you've been staying with him." "Parker is my friend," Emma declared confidently. "He helped when I was sick, and he showed Daddy how to make me better the right way. We're still going to have movie nights sometimes, even when I live with Daddy." "It sounds like you have 2 people who care about you very much," the judge observed. Emma nodded enthusiastically. 3. Dr. Chen checks my tummy every month to make sure it stays healthy. She says I'm the bravest patient she has." The hearing itself was brief and without contention. The state had no objections to Michael regaining full custody, with continued support services and Periodic check-ins from social services. The judge's decision was announced with a warm smile rather than a gavel bang. The court finds that reunification is in the best interest of the child. Full custody is hereby granted to Michael Wilson with a transition period of 2 weeks to allow Emma to adjust gradually. As they left the courthouse, Emma skipping between Parker and her father, a reporter approached with a microphone. "Mr. Wilson, how do you feel about the court's decision?" Michael hesitated, but Emma spoke up confidently. "My daddy made a mistake because he was scared, but he learned better. And now we have Parker too, so we're extra safe." The reporter's expression softened at the child's simple wisdom. Later that evening, Emma's words made the local news, touching hearts throughout Maplewood. 2 weeks later, Parker helped Emma pack her remaining belongings from his apartment. The room that had been transformed for her temporary stay now held memories of bedtime stories, weekend pancake breakfasts, and gradual healing. "Will you be sad when I'm not here every day?" Emma asked as they folded her clothes. "I'll miss our daily routines," Parker admitted, "but I'm happy you're going home and I'm looking forward to our special visit days." Emma considered this thoughtfully before placing her stuffed rabbit in her backpack. "Maybe you'll be a daddy yourself someday," she suggested. "You're really good at it." The observation, delivered with a child's matter-of-fact sincerity, caught Parker by surprise. His career had always been his focus, with personal life taking a distant second place. Yet these months with Emma had revealed aspects of himself he'd never fully explored: patience, nurturing, the capacity to build trust with a wounded child. That evening, Michael arrived to help with the final move. As the three of them shared a farewell dinner at Parker's kitchen table, Emma looked between the two men with satisfaction. "We're kind of like a special family now, aren't we?" she observed. "Not the regular kind, but still real." Michael and Parker exchanged glances over her head, acknowledging the unexpected bond that had formed between them. Former suspect and investigating officer, now connected through their shared care for one remarkably resilient little girl. "Yes," Parker agreed, "still very real." Spring blossomed in Maplewood, bringing with it Emma's 6th birthday. 6 months had passed since she had returned to live with her father full-time. The Wilson home, once a place of confusion and fear, now rang with the sounds of normal family life and weekend visits from Parker. The birthday party in the backyard was small but joyful. Classmates from kindergarten, Ms. Winters, Dr. Chen, and of course, Parker, who arrived with a bicycle sporting training wheels and a bright pink helmet. "Is that really for me?" Emma gasped, eyes wide with excitement. "Every 6-year-old needs a bike," Parker replied, helping her adjust the helmet. "Your dad and I will teach you to ride it." As children played games on the lawn, the adults gathered on the patio. Dr. Chen updated them on Gabriel Ward's case, which had concluded with a 15-year prison sentence and millions in restitution to affected families. "The medical board is implementing new regulations to prevent similar situations," she explained. "Emma's case was instrumental in changing how we identify and report suspected medical misinformation." Michael nodded soberly. "I've been speaking at support groups for families who've been misled by alternative treatment promises. It's healing, somehow, to help others avoid our mistakes." After cake and presents, as the party wound down, Emma experienced a sudden stomach ache, normal birthday excitement and too much sugar, but the momentary pain triggered immediate concern from both Michael and Parker. "My tummy hurts," she said, clutching her middle. Michael's face paled instantly, old fears rushing back. Parker, too, felt a surge of protective worry. Both men moved quickly to her side. "Where does it hurt, Emmy?" Michael asked, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. Dr. Chen, noticing the commotion, approached calmly. "May I?" she asked, kneeling beside Emma. With gentle, professional hands, she pressed lightly on Emma's stomach. "Deep breath in and out. Does it hurt when I press here?" Emma shook her head. "It's better already. I think I ate too much cake." Dr. Chen smiled reassuringly. "That's exactly what I think too. A classic case of birthday excitement and extra sugar." The tension visibly drained from Michael's shoulders. He exchanged a look with Parker, a shared acknowledgement of how quickly old fears could resurface. Dr. Chen took the opportunity for an important teaching moment. Emma, everyone gets tummy aches sometimes, especially after parties. It doesn't mean anything serious is wrong. Not like before, Emma asked quietly. Not like before, Dr. Chen confirmed. What you experienced then was very different. Remember how we talked about normal body feelings versus warning signs? Emma nodded. Normal feelings come and go. Warning signs stay and get worse. Exactly right, Dr. Chen praised, then looked meaningfully at Michael and Parker. That's a lesson for grown-ups too. Later, after the guests had departed and Emma was playing with her new toys in the living room, the three adults sat on the patio in the golden evening light. I panicked, Michael admitted. For a moment, all I could think was that it was happening again. Me too, Parker confessed. I guess some protective instincts don't just disappear. Dr. Chen nodded understandingly. That's natural after trauma, but today was actually an important milestone. Emma experienced normal discomfort. You both responded with appropriate concern and then accepted reassurance when it was offered. That's healthy progress. As darkness fell, Parker prepared to leave. Emma insisted on walking him to his car, proudly wearing her new helmet despite not being on her bike. Safety first, she explained seriously. That's what you taught me. Parker knelt to her level. You know, Emma, you've taught us grown-ups a lot too. Like what? She asked curiously. Like how to be brave even when you're scared. How to forgive mistakes. How to heal. Emma considered this thoughtfully. Is that why you and Daddy aren't mad at each other anymore? Because of me? The simple question contained profound insight. Parker glanced back at Michael, who stood watching from the porch. Their relationship had evolved from suspicion to grudging cooperation to genuine respect, and even friendship. A transformation neither would have predicted. I think you're right, Parker acknowledged. You helped us understand each other better. Back inside, as Michael tucked Emma into bed, she asked a question that had been forming in her mind throughout the day. Daddy, if the special doctor was wrong about me, was he wrong about Mommy too? Could she have gotten better with regular doctor medicine? Michael sat heavily on the edge of her bed, unprepared for the question, but determined to be honest. The truth is, Emmy, Mommy was very sick. The regular doctors might not have been able to save her either, but Dr. Ward was wrong to make me afraid of them, and wrong to make me think you were sick when you weren't. Emma nodded, processing this. So the cucumber couldn't have helped either of us. No, sweetheart, the cucumber couldn't have helped. I understand now, Emma said, wisdom beyond her years shining in her eyes. Sometimes people get sick and get better. Sometimes they get sick and don't get better. But the yucky drinks in the cucumber weren't medicine at all. As Michael kissed her goodnight, he marveled at her simple, profound understanding, the truth that had taken him so much pain to learn, now expressed perfectly by his 6-year-old daughter. 1 year had passed since the morning Emma Wilson had stumbled into Maplewood Police Station, clutching her stomach in a cucumber. The anniversary wasn't marked on any calendar, but Parker felt it nonetheless as he drove to the Wilson home for their monthly Sunday dinner, a tradition that had evolved naturally over time. Maplewood itself had changed. The Gabriel Ward case had prompted community health education programs and support groups for families recovering from medical misinformation. Michael Wilson, once viewed with suspicion, had become an unexpected advocate, sharing his experience to help others recognize manipulation disguised as healing. Parker pulled into the driveway just as Emma came racing toward him on her bicycle. No training wheels now, her blonde hair streaming behind her. Parker, watch how fast I can go, she called, making a perfect circle in the driveway. Impressive skills, he praised, noticing how much she'd grown. At 7 years old, Emma had fully recovered from her ordeal, physically and emotionally. Regular checkups with Dr. Chen had confirmed her excellent health, while sessions with Dr. Torres had helped her process her experiences in age-appropriate ways. Inside, Michael was putting the finishing touches on dinner, a skill he'd developed over the past year, replacing Ward's protocols with proper nutrition he'd learned in parenting classes. Perfect timing, he greeted Parker. Emma has big news she's been waiting to share. Over homemade lasagna, Emma proudly announced that her science project about how bodies really work had won first place at school. I explained how sometimes people believe wrong things about medicine because they're scared, she said matter-of-factly. Ms. Winters says it might help other kids understand if their parents hear strange ideas. After dinner, while Emma was selecting a board game for them to play, Michael handed Parker a letter. "It's official. My record has been expunged," Michael explained quietly. "The court recognized the extraordinary circumstances and my work with the prevention program." "That's wonderful," Parker said sincerely. "You've earned it." Their conversation was interrupted by Emma returning with chutes and ladders. As they played, Parker observed the easy comfort between father and daughter, the trust rebuilt, stronger for having been broken and repaired. When the game ended with Emma's triumphant victory, she grew suddenly thoughtful. "I've been thinking about something," she announced with the seriousness children sometimes adopt for important matters. "Remember when I was sick and scared? I had 3 helpers: Daddy, who loves me even when he makes mistakes, Dr. Chen, who fixed my body with real medicine, and Parker, who kept me safe until everything was better." The 2 men exchanged glances, touched by her simple summation. "I think everybody needs helpers sometimes," Emma continued, "even grown-ups." "You're absolutely right," Michael agreed, his voice thick with emotion. "And sometimes the helpers need help too. Parker helped me as much as he helped you." As evening fell, the 3 of them stepped onto the back porch. Emma pointed excitedly at the first star appearing in the darkening sky. "Make a wish," she urged. In that peaceful moment, Parker reflected on how a case that had begun with fear and confusion had transformed into something unexpected, healing not just for Emma, but for all of them. A little girl's courage had revealed truths about recovery, forgiveness, and the different forms family could take. Emma, seeing Parker's thoughtful expression, slipped her small hand into his. "Did you make a good wish?" she asked. Parker smiled, looking from Emma to Michael and back again. "I don't need to wish," he replied truthfully. "Everything important is right here." As stars continued to appear above Maplewood, the unlikely family they had become, different from traditional arrangements, but no less real, stood together in comfortable silence, connected by a journey that had begun with a cucumber and a mystery, and ended with understanding and grace. In the small-town police station across Maplewood, the case file of Emma Wilson had been officially closed, but the impact of her story continued to ripple outward, changing lives and saving others from similar paths of misinformation and fear. And Emma herself, once at the center of a community's concern, now slept peacefully each night, secure in the knowledge that she was healthy, protected, and loved by her father, who had learned difficult truths, by her friend who had become family, and by a community that had rallied around a little girl who had simply needed help finding her way home.